Or to the cloud. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome back after winter break. Welcome back if you're here in Minnesota to an incredibly cold first day back, but that's okay. So tonight we're going to do spring training. Our general agenda tonight, we're going to do federal review and TaxSlayer, working on tax training materials, and then some actual working on returns. So hopefully everybody brought their devices with them. Next week is going to be state night. After that, we're going to do special circumstances. And then the final week of training is February 11th. We're going to do final clinic prep and the volunteer readiness check. And our tax clinics are starting in just over a month. You're welcome. Yep. February 18th. So a little bit more detail about the plan for tonight. We're going to go through a volunteer update, federal tax review. Then we're going to do site and tool introduction. We're going to do an introduction to TaxSlayer and do a sample. I'm going to do Lisa and TaxSlayer. So you've seen Lisa 3 or 4 times. You're going to see her again today. Then it's going to be your turn. You're going to get to do some work in TaxSlayer. Do Lisa again, as well as Sunil. For resident volunteers, if you are residents, so we are not going to do anything particularly focused about residents tonight. This is really all about non-residents. Everybody has to be non-resident certified, so everybody cares about all this stuff. We will hit resident stuff again next week when we talk about states, but tonight it's non-residents only. We will have a break sometime around 6:30-ish, wherever seemed like a really convenient time. So with that, let's talk about volunteers. So this is super exciting. So we have had 47 people who have passed the IRS tests and gotten their paperwork into me. We have another 4 to 6 people that have passed the test but still have to do paperwork. So we are almost done, and we should end up with a little over 50 volunteers, which is really exciting. I will say that, right, this is not 100% true, but in general, right, almost everybody who passed the test completed all or almost all of the modules first. And almost everybody who tried to take the test without completing the modules did not pass the test. So it definitely does make a big difference if you get through the modules first. It's not like 100% guaranteed, but it does help a lot. So just so everybody is ready, we will continue to have modules for the spring sessions, right? Because we've done the federal, we've done the tax law, but we have a lot of additional material to cover. And this new material is really what's going to make you effective as a volunteer, helping people with their taxes, right? You know the theory of it, but now you need to really be ready to do things with that. The other thing I want to talk to you about, right? So we have a final volunteer readiness check that's in Moodle, and it is mandatory. You will need to complete 2 tax returns essentially perfectly the first time. So you're going to get the scenario, you're going to go into the software, you're going to prepare the forms, send them off to me. They need to basically be perfect. I'll take like 1 or 2 little typo errors, but like the numbers got to all be right. We're going to do a lot of focus on the software itself to help you be successful there. We're going to focus on state tax software as well. We're going to focus on when things don't go right, because that's a lot of what we do in the tax clinics, is helping it with clients when things don't go right. You will have lots of chances to pass this. I'm not going to say unlimited, but it's like 10 or 12 tries at least. But you got to show me that you can do it, right? This is really important because we're going to turn you loose on all of the poor, unsuspecting students at all of the schools around the United States. So we want to make sure you know what you're talking about. All right, let's talk about signups now. So this is a little Pareto graph to show how many people have signed up for the various clinics. All right, for the 7 of you that have signed up for 9 or 10 clinics, thank you so much. I love you. You are wonderful and amazing people. Same for the people that did 8 or 7. That is really good. 4, 5, 6. Not too bad. That's great. The people that are at 0 or 2, please be ready for another email from me saying, hey, you really need to sign up, right? This is the whole reason why you're here. It's not just, maybe it's to learn taxes, but hopefully it's also to actually help people. So we need you to sign up so that we can move forward with the tax clinics. This is what the graph looks like. I know it's very busy, but think of it as light bars or capacity, dark blue bars are how many people have signed up. So there is still lots of capacity out there. These are all for in-person tax clinics for all of our various partners that are doing them. So there's lots of room out there. We also have lots of room in the remote events as well. The first ones of the year have kind of started to fill up a little bit. So the stuff later on in the year is still pretty open. That's generally where we need the most help. Usually students put off, they procrastinate their taxes just like they do everything else. And so the first few clinics are usually not too busy. That is great. It's like a very nice, gentle warm up when you start volunteering. But we really need the people to sign up at the end so that everybody that's panicking on April 9th or 10th can come get some help for their taxes. All right, here is just some overall numbers for like what the total capacity is looking at right now. So we've got just about 1,200 appointments that we've got through all of the different groups between the remote events, in-person events, all of the different clinics. Those 13 volunteers, when they sign up, that should add another 400 to 500 appointments. So you all should feel very proud of the hard work that you've done so far and the amazing support that you're going to provide for all of the international students and just general students around the US. So it's super exciting. This is always a very fun time of year when we get ready to go live. I will remind you though, that tax event signups are a commitment. So in 1 week, actually it's in 6 days, I will release appointments out to the world for our clients to sign up based on you saying that you are going to volunteer, right? So if you say that you're going to be there, but you don't come, that is not a happy thing for everybody else that's volunteering. And it's not happy for our clients as well, right? How bad it is kind of depends on how many volunteers, right? How much of our capacity at that clinic are we losing? In-person events are usually 5 to 12 people. Remote events are 4 people max. So if we have 10 volunteers and we lose 1 person, probably we're going to be fine, right? We won't really notice it that much. If we have 6 and we lose 1, that's like 17%. We can probably survive. If we only had 4 people and we only get 3 that show up, we've lost 25% of our capacity, right? We're going to have clients reschedule. And for our remote office hours appointments, those are one-on-one. So if you don't show up or you show up late, whoever you were scheduled to be with, they don't get that appointment because there's nobody there to talk to them. Obviously, when people cancel, they're very upset. We know that it happens sometimes. We don't want you to come to a clinic if you're sick. Please, stay home, be healthy, all that kind of good stuff. If you have to cancel, the sooner you can tell me, the better, right? Sometimes, especially towards the end of the season, usually by mid to late March, all of our appointments are going to be booked, right? Everything's going to be taken. So if we have to cancel, there is no other place for those people, right? If you say that you can make a later event and we can reschedule, that's awesome. We can work to do that, but otherwise, try to make it if you can. Stay home if you need to. Please don't make every other volunteer sick as well, and all of our clients. All right, so let's talk about how this works for the client from their side, right? They're going to sign up for a free membership. They have to have a school, nonprofit, or government email address. We have a General North account that's available for everybody. And then we have school-specific emails for all of our different partners and school-specific memberships. So VITA at the U of M, we've got one at Lehigh, Washington State University, App State, and it goes on and on. Those memberships give them access to a set of website pages. Those pages have resources, education for them to learn about taxes. It also has the free software link, tools, and all of the calendars for them to book appointments. We can also put school-specific events, and we can also limit things, right? So that a Lehigh student out in Pennsylvania can't book an appointment here in Minnesota. Vice versa, we know that if we had a partner in Florida, everybody would go visit them to get their taxes done. Unfortunately, we don't at this point. And our opening day is January 27th. So assuming that everything goes well, we get our software links. That's 6 days from now, we are going to be live. We track our membership signups, right? How many people sign up over time? this is what it's looked like the past few years. Obviously, we don't have anybody yet. Last year, we topped out at like 4,800 members is how many people we had as members. This year, I'm guessing we'll be at 7,000 to 8,000 is my best guess at it. We'll see. All right, and then we also track signups for the clinics, right? So as I release the appointments, we'll track the signups for the clients as well. Like I said, current capacity just under 1,200. I guess we don't have it in there. All right, does anybody have any questions about this before we go on? All right. This is always one of my favorite times of the year because we see, oh, look, we have all this stuff and are people going to sign up and when are they going to sign up? And they start to do it. It's great. Okay, so we're going to do a really quick, if I can possibly try to condense 4 weeks of training into about 5 slides. That's what I'm going to try to do for you here. So federal taxes for non-resident aliens. All right, so remember, a citizen or a national or a green card holder is going to be a resident of the US for tax purposes. If you are not a citizen or a green card holder or a national, you are an alien. That's the word, sorry about it. The substantial presence test is what determines whether you're a resident or a non-resident alien. This is the counting of those days, that math. Some people are exempt from the substantial presence test. They don't count their days in the US. That's going to be students for their first 5 calendar years. Teachers or trainees, unless they were exempt in 2 of the prior 6 years. You must always file that form 8843 to claim your exempt days, right? So you can be a non-resident alien and not file a form 8843 because you just are not exempt, but you just weren't here long enough to pass the substantial presence test. We always have a couple dozen people that are in that situation. They say, hey, I don't have this form. Why don't I have it? You're not exempt, but you're still a non-resident alien. It's no problem. All right. If you're not a resident of the US, that means you must be a resident of another country. How do you determine what country that is, right? Where were you living? Where is your citizenship? Where is your place of business or employment? It's usually not going to be for our students, but where did they go to school? Where is their permanent home, their family? Usually, if they've been living in another country for at least 6 months, that can be enough to switch their residency to a new country. It's not often a problem, but we do see people that have a different residency than their citizenship residency. Totally fine. Whatever it is, that's okay. If there's ever questions, there's a link there. We share that link with the clients and with all of you so that you can go dive into the details if there's ever a question. All right, let's talk about taxes. So remember, only US income is taxable for non-resident aliens, right? So is that like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? It's only what happens in the US gets taxed in the US. You cannot file a joint return if you are married and a non-resident alien. You have to use the married filing separate status. If you are still married, right, even if your spouse is somewhere else, you are still married to them. Wages are going to be taxed. Treaties may exempt some amount of that for taxation. It's usually an unlimited amount for teachers. For researchers, it's a small amount for students. It may or may not be reported on a 1042-S, right? That document that they get to report their income, that doesn't have anything to do with how the treaty benefits that they can claim. Scholarships are going to be tax-free for everybody if they are for tuition, required books, or fees, right? That's the qualified scholarships. The treaty may exempt if it's for room and board or other expenses. For everything else, it's always going to be taxable. So tuition, required books and fees, no tax. Do you have a treaty? Okay, the rest is not going to be taxable. Otherwise, everybody pays tax. You're considered self-employed. You have your own business. You get a 1099 NEC or a 1099 miscellaneous to report that income. That's things like driving for Uber, starting a food truck, selling stuff on Etsy, all that kind of thing. That is all out of scope for us to assist with for non-residents. We can assist in limited situations for residents, but for non-residents, it's all out of scope. Dividend and capital gains, that's going to generally be taxed at 30%, right? We hope that our friends that did some stock trading made a lot of money on it because they're going to pay a lot of tax on it too. Occasionally, there can be treaties that get a lower rate, but it can be complicated. It gets reported on that separate form. It's never reported on a Schedule D, like a normal resident capital gains or dividends would be reported on. It's always going to be reported on the NEC. And then bank interest, right after saying you must report all income, I then say, well, but if it's bank interest, then you don't have to pay any tax on it and you don't even report it anyway. So it's one of those exceptions. All right. That's the income piece of it. For the rest of it, so for deductions, everybody is going to itemize except students from India. They get to take this standard deduction, but it's only the students, remember, not anybody else, only the students. The itemized deductions we're going to see are going to be the taxes paid to state and local government and the charitable contributions. And a reminder, there is a special 1040 NR Schedule A. It's not the same resident Schedule A. I did have a few of those come through in the scenarios for people. So it is a special 1040 NR Schedule A that only has the allowable deductions for non-residents. There are essentially no credits for non-residents. There can be a few, but it's pretty darn rare. And there are absolutely no education credits. The good news on the other side, though, you don't have to pay Social Security and Medicare taxes, which is great. However, once they become a resident alien, they do. If you're on a -2 visa and you're working, you have to pay those even if you're a non-resident. All right. Special fund with tax treaties, right? The Fabulous Six for teachers and researchers. For 2 years, no matter how much money you earn, you pay no taxes. It's like the best in the world. But if you stay 1 day into that 3rd year, you owe tax on the entire visit. So retroactive elimination is what it's called. So it's like makes it go away in the past. It was never even there. But it's based on duration for those 2 years. So it's not 2 calendar years. It's May 1st through April 30th of 2 years later. The Canada Treaty is special, right? $10,000 or less. If you earn that in wages, you don't pay any tax. $10,001, you pay tax on everything. So it's not like you subtract 10,000. It's either no tax under, all tax above. Germany also has a treaty benefit for students that's retroactively eliminated if their 4-year period is exceeded. Most students are here for more than 4 years, so we usually don't see this one being claimed. And then China has the super good benefit, right? That $5,000 of personal service income continues even after they're resident aliens. They still get that money off of their taxes. So it's a super good deal if you came from China. And the teachers and resident or scholars, they get 3 years instead of the normal 2. All right. With that unloading on you guys, that was in 4 weeks in about 5 minutes. Any questions on any of that? All right. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the tax clinic and our clients. All right. So in particular for our clients, right? So there are 1.08 million international students here in the United States, 1.25 million, depending on what numbers you're looking at. We look at some of our biggest partners here at the U of M for all campuses. There's about 6,500. University of Maryland, Baltimore County has another 2,600, and Cato's 17, Wazoo's 13, Lehigh's 1,100. Plus we've got another 10 to 15 smaller schools. So that's 15,000 international students that we're hoping to support. In a traditional VITA model, it takes about 1 hour of volunteer time for each tax return prepared. And with our current volunteer signups, we've got about 450 hours of volunteer time. So we would be able to help like 0.3% or 3% of the people that we have that would potentially need help with a traditional model, right? And so it's not realistic that we're going to be able to do that. We're not going to try. We're going to use a different model. We're going to talk about that a little bit more because we want to provide more help than kind of what that model goes for. As we think about this, right, you as volunteers, right, you already have a lot of knowledge, right? You have been here, you have been working in Moodle for many hours. By the time we're done, right, you're going to have 12 to 16 hours of training and practice. You're going to have practiced and passed these IRS certification tests. You will know the website and publications. You will have tax experts and supporting resources from the IRS. You'll also have a good 4 to 8 hours of practice in this software. Our clients, right, they're going to have about 1 minute of tax training, and it's going to be You must file your taxes to maintain your compliance with your visa. I have now given you what the tax training is for many of our clients. Beyond that, right, Dr. Google, ChatGPT, their friend network, right, they really don't have a lot of good resources for education. And they have no resources for education on their software, right? They don't have any instructions or guides. Sure, they can pay $100 or more to get software, but that's not free. That's not the greatest. So, realistically, there's no reasonable way that we can expect our clients to be able to do this, right? Think of how much practice you're having and the challenges you're seeing. How can we expect them to do that with like no training at all? And also, right, it's probably not realistic that they're going to give that 16 to 24 hours of time to learn all of this stuff. I would love it if they would, but they won't, and that's okay. So we're going to try to bridge that gap. All right, because our clients do have the information to get started, right? They have their travel history, they have their visa information, they have their income documents, right? They just don't know what to do with them. And while non-resident taxation is complicated, it's also very logic. Yes. I have a question on Zoom. Is it in the chat? All right. Let's go find the participants. All right. Paul, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I have a lot of international friends who use like tag website to file their tax, like Turbo or something like that. Do you think that works for them, or is it better for me to tell them to go to our clinic?
If they are a non-resident, it is 100% better for them to come to our clinic, and I will tell you why. TurboTax is only for residents. It never asks any questions about residency. It assumes that you're a resident. And if you don't know that you're a non-resident, you will file incorrectly as a resident. You will claim the standard deduction when you shouldn't. You will claim education credits when you shouldn't. You will get a refund. It'll be wonderful. You'll get like $1,000, $1,500 back, but then you will have filed incorrectly and need to file an amended return and pay all that money back. So please tell them to come to us.
Yeah, so if they have already used that like Turbo last year and they come to our clinic this year, do we have to do anything about that, or we just file it like normally?
So yeah, so there's two issues, right? So we're going to file 2024 returns correctly, no matter, it's our first goal. If they filed incorrectly last year, we're going to generally have you send them to our tax help email account, and we can talk with them about how to fix it. Our software only does current year taxes, so we don't help with amended prior year tax returns, or if they didn't file, just amend our prior year returns. But we do partner with another VITA site that does provide those services. So we can put them in touch with them, and then they can get free help from those people. And that's what we'll do.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Okay, so non-resident alien taxation is complicated but logic-based, right? There's not a lot of choices, and our clients are relatively tech savvy, right? They know how to use their phone, they know how to use a computer, they can go to a website. Compared to a typical VITA population, that is pretty darn amazing. So as we look at trying to fix this or resolve this, where are we coming, right? Bridging this gap. So our model is the TaxSlayer FSA model, facilitated self-assistance, which is the really fancy way of saying DIY plus help, right? The clients prepare their own returns. That means that we don't have to provide the equipment and the volunteers to do that work, right? So we're already going to leverage that resources to reduce the amount of stuff that we have to do so that we can help more people. We also are going to provide help on an as-needed basis, right? So we're not going to always sit there and do it for them. We're going to let them do it. And then when they need help, they can come to us. They can come to us for email help. They can come to us for office hours, or they can come to us for tax clinics, right? So we provide a lot of help, but we're not going to do it right out of the gate. We're going to let them get as far as they can, and then we're going to help them out. And the biggest bridge that we've built so far is a series of online tools. right? And so the idea is to try to fill that knowledge gap between the information that they have and then how do they use that information to prepare their tax returns, right? Take what they know, provide some guidance and instructions about what to do with it. So the best analogy that I've been able to come up with for this is cooking, right? So we are going to provide all of our clients with a recipe, right? We're going to say, take these ingredients, right? This is your W-2, your income documents, this is your visa. Those are all of your ingredients. You're going to put them into our little system and you're going to have something come out on the outside that's going to say, all right, put this here, put this there, put this information here. They're going to try to follow that recipe to cook their dinner, to prepare their tax return. All right. So you may be wondering, why did I not tell you about any of this stuff before, right? You guys are not home cooks, right? We are here in culinary school and you are chefs, right? You guys have to be experts at this, right? It's totally okay for you to use the tools, but you need to understand the background of them, what goes on, why they're supposed to work, how things are supposed to turn out, right? You can't use those tools blindly. The challenge for all of you, right, is you're going to walk up to a client and they're going to show you their half-assembled dinner, their half-assembled tax return, and they're going to say, I don't know what's wrong. It's not working. Fix it for me. And you have to try to be able to diagnose it, right? Which means you need to know everything forwards and backwards and all of the ways in between, because you're going to have to really be expert to be able to figure out what's going on wrong in, 30 seconds or so. So we're going to do a lot of practice with the tools. You guys are going to get very good at all of it. But that is why we have these. That's why I didn't tell you about them now. That is why I'm telling you about them so that you can start to become experts in these as well. All right, so let's talk about the tools. So the first one is very simple. Am I a non-resident alien? Enter your visa, enter your visits. It will do all of the math for you. There are no more counting of days. It will take care of that part for you. It will determine your residency. It will do the counts of days. It will also tell you, do you need to fill out a form 8843 or not? The next one is our treaty benefits tool. Enter your visa, enter your federal tax residency, like resident or non-resident, enter your country of tax residency. It will tell you what your treaty benefits are. Do you have a scholarship? Do you have a wage? If you enter your income documents, it will compare to say, ooh, does this match or does it not match? Think about Sergio. Our personalized guide tool is a combination of the Am I a non-resident alien plus the treaty benefits tool plus a TurboTaxi sort of set of interview questions. We have an 8843 only branch. If you have no US income and you only need to file that 8843, we can help you fill that out. Otherwise, it'll give you a guide that is a screenshot by screenshot, customized PDF that will let you prepare your return in TaxSlayer. So it'll walk you through. So click here, next page, click here, next page, click here, all the way through the process. The link is out in Moodle right now for everyone. It should be live for everybody now. It's going to be out on the member websites as well. So this is not a public link. So the first two tools are public tools. Anybody can use them. The personalized guide tool is our membership only tool. The volunteers can use it as well, but it's not going to ever be out on a public website. It is also not updated for 2024 yet because they haven't given me the software. So I'm chomping at the bit to get that updated for everybody. But we're waiting for that as soon as it comes out. Oh, well, we can't go live until we have software. So it should be in the next few days. All right. So to find the tools, go to our main website, nrtaxhelp.org, go to services, free tax assistance, scroll down, there you are. So I'm going to show you, see if I can remember what it is. We're going to go through Sergio really quickly, right? So I'm going to go here. All right, I'm going to do side by side. All right, so if we went to North, free tax help, scroll down, am I a non-resident alien? All right, so 2024 is our tax year. Sergio he came August 31st, 2021, and he left 5/23, 2022. Came back after the end of the summer, then went home over winter break, 12/10/2023. Came back 1/15/2024. And check status. Congratulations, he's a non-resident alien. It gives us our count of days, gives us, he is required to file a form 8843. So he is exempt. All right, so that's the Am I a non-resident alien tool. What are my treaty benefits, right? All right, so Sergio is an F1 student from Spain. There we are, he's a non-resident alien. We're gonna say no to dividends and all of that. All right, so he's got 2 treaty benefits, right? We know this. Unlimited treaty benefits for scholarship or fellowship income, $5,000 of treaty benefits for wages. All right. In our scenario, Sergio had a W-2, but that was all, and it was $8,000. And we look at this, we get a summary. Here's his treaty information. He has a W-2. Treaty exempt income for wages is $5,000. Taxable income for wages, $3,000, right? So we're putting the pieces from what our students know, right? They know, hey, I'm from Spain. I have this W-2 document. Now we can use that and say, all right, congratulations. Now you know that you don't have to pay tax on $5,000 of it, but you still got to pay tax on $3,000. All right. And then we're going to do the treaty benefit or the personalized guide tool here in a few minutes. All right. Any questions on those tools? So I will say that those tools are built by us. They are as right as almost 20 years of tax experience can make them. If you ever do see anything that you think is wrong, please let us know. It's been stress tested very thoroughly, but there's always a unique situation, so please let us know. But generally they're going to be very good and completely reliable. All right, so let's talk about our friends software, TaxSlayer. Okay, so the IRS, in their infinite wisdom, right, they have a contract to provide software for the VITA sites around the United States. TaxSlayer is the company that won that current contract to provide the software to us. They have multiple versions of their software. There is a TaxSlayer Pro version for VITA, which is online or desktop used by all the VITA volunteers to prepare returns. The Practice Lab, which we're going to talk about or you already know about if you've volunteered at the resident site, it is an online sandbox that is available for VITA volunteers, right? The great thing about this, you can't do any harm, right? It's not real software, it's not live, you can't actually file the return. You shouldn't prepare a real return in it because it doesn't always get updated once the filing season opens, but right now, everybody in the VITA world is all frantically using it, making sure it works, and training their volunteers on it. TaxSlayer FSA, which is the Facilitated Self-Assistance, that is for VITA, that is online only. It's a DIY version. It's accessed through a unique website link. TaxSlayer also sells both of these versions to the public. The FSA version is available on their main website, and that Pro version is available for purchase by accounting and tax prep firms. All right, so they sell it to a bunch of people. They also sold it to the IRS. All right, the challenge that we have is that the FSA online versions are not exactly the same as the Pro version, right? It's a little bit different because one is kind of intended for tax professionals, for people producing lots of returns. The other one is like a single-use customer software. We're going to use Practice Lab because we don't want to have you actually filing a real return, because if you used FSA and you put in a number, then that would be somebody's return that you filed. I will demo it when we get a little bit further on. The guides are all used or created based on that version. So when you use the guides, they are going to look just a little different, especially at the beginning, because the kind of entry into the software process is smoothed out for people that are not tax professionals, basically. But I will say, right, as of course we're helping everybody else with their returns, Everybody that's here as a volunteer is welcome to use the FSA software, prepare their own return. Same limits apply, $84,000 or more, you can't use the software. And there's the limits on scope are really about what we can help with, not necessarily what the software can do. On occasion, so we usually don't try to advertise that it's TaxSlayer on the website. And the reason why is because they'll say, oh, TaxSlayer is a software. And they'll Google TaxSlayer and go straight to the TaxSlayer main site. If they do that, it will prepare a simple resident return for free, but it will not prepare a non-resident return for free. So they will get through the software, they will get to the end, and it will say, yes, now you need to pay 60 bucks or whatever it is to prepare your return. And they're like, I thought this was supposed to be free. And we'll say, I'm so sorry. Are you on the right software? Does it say simply free at the top, which is actually not simply free? Or does it say American Pledge, which means it's actually going to be free? And if it is the wrong version, they have to delete everything and create a new account and re-enter it all, which is definitely a pain, but still probably worth 50 or 60 bucks. Okay, so that's a little bit of an introduction to the software. So we're gonna actually do some software. Everybody should remember Lisa, right? She is our first friend that we made here in volunteer training. She's an F1 student from China. This is her personal information. Right, she's got a 1042S income code 20 for $5,000 and a W-2 for $8,400, right? So when we look at Lisa, right, we know that her total income was actually $13,400. $5,000 that's treaty exempt, $8,400 that is taxable. We know, we've already seen examples and we'll see lots of them in our tax clinics, right, where people's income documents don't match, where we have to do fixing. Lisa, though, we don't have to do any fixing on, which is great. If you were going to prepare a form by hand, now that you know about our first tools. Yep, there were some extra, I don't know if we have enough. You guys may need to share a little bit with some of the samples. More people showed up than I thought, which is exciting. The sample forms are also, scenarios are also online in Moodle. If you were going to do a by hand set of returns, now that you know about our tools, first use the Am I a Non-Resident Alien tool, then use the Treaty Benefits tool, then you would go into the 8843, Schedule OI, on down through the list. For Lisa, I already did her Am I a Non-Resident Alien, right? This is what her data looks like. Whoa, don't do that. This is what her Treaty Benefit tool would look like, right? F1 student from China. She enters her documents. This is her summary right here. It basically says, yep, her treaty benefits match her income documents, right? 5,000 on a 1042S that was reported as treaty exempt or tax exempt, 8,400 is taxable. All right, so now we're gonna try to do Lisa just like she was a VITA client. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna do the personalized guide, and then we're gonna go into the TaxSlayer software and do that. So for everybody, the personalized or the guide link is here in Moodle module number 12. So, yes. All right, before we go into that, I was getting ready for today and I had fun because there are already some TaxSlayer issues. So currently right now, when you try to prepare the return in TaxSlayer, it is requiring that you enter a date departed. This is not officially a requirement by the IRS because what if you don't leave, right? You didn't actually depart. But the software is doing that. So I've sent off the nastygram to them to see if they will get that fixed. It also is not doing some math very well as well, because when you enter the 1st and the 31st, it thinks that that is 365 days. And it is not 365 days, it's 366 days. But that's okay. This is why everybody's like trying to break it in the VITA system to make sure everything is good. So let's do, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go back to here. I'm gonna go to Moodle. All right, so if we go to Moodle, and make it big, go down to 12. All right, so personalized guide tool for your volunteers. Here we go. Let's start the guide. We start with a question that TurboTax should ask but never does. Are you a citizen, national, or a green card holder? No, we are not. Lisa is not. Yeah, this is information. Okay. What country are you a citizen of? It is China. Tax resident, China. All right. This should look familiar from the Am I a non-resident alien, right? We just did this. So 0801 2022, then she left. 5/31 2023. She came back. 08/31 2023. All right. Yay, you're a non-resident alien. We don't give all of the information here because it doesn't matter, right? We're going to get it all in a PDF form. We don't need to show all of that data here. It's just confusing. Were you married? It matters because you have to say if you're married or not. But Lisa was not. Do you have a social security number? Yes. If I said no, and I said no income, this would take me over to that branch where I could enter my information to create a form 8843. Right, I need to only file that. It's going to be my address in China because she said she was a resident of China. My little phone, home in US. All right, if we had to adjust anything, we can. She did not win the green card lottery. We can partner with our schools to pre-fill that information. Although that's going to be blank, and then we create the form. All right. And we can see that we have pre-filled the form 8843 information here. So that is how the form 8843 tool works if we ever need it. But for Lisa, we don't need it. We need to do the real thing. She has a W-2. She has a 1042S with income code 20. She doesn't have any of these other kinds of documents. We're going to enter her information. This is our treaty benefits tool. We're going to add a 1042S with code 20, 5,000, and on we go. We're going to ask some more questions because this will affect things like her deductions, right? Charitable contributions is an itemized deduction. Student loan interest as a credit or an adjustment. Did she file a tax return last year? She did, right? She filed a tax return. Did you get a refund? No. Lisa was not happy when she left our clinic last year. She had to pay extra tax. We will give her the instructions for that. All right, I'm going to select Washington just to make this easy. So for the states, we do go through calculations and work for any state-specific questions. I'm going to jump over that for today because we're going to do that next week. And just like that, we're going to create her personalized guide. And it takes a little bit, and then it downloads, and there we go. All right, so here we are. We have our personalized guide that says we're going to do this. Obviously, 2023, it's not updated yet. Required disclosure is a reminder, right? TaxSlayer is not smart, right? You can make TaxSlayer show that you're going to get $1 million refund, and you can submit that to the IRS. And if you really do that $1 million, you'll get it back. But if you're not, then they're going to send you a letter saying, we made some changes on your return. So just because the software says something, it does not mean that it's right? That's one of the big services that we provide to all of our clients, is that we help them with the software. Reminder about the scope. All right, on the member site, they will go here to access the software. They will log in and create an account, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to go back to here, right? So this is where the software tends to be a little bit different. All right, so accessing the practice lab. Let me get that one. So the link for that is also in Moodle as well. This is a 2-password system. See if I can remember it. TRAINPRO Stream Pro Web, and then everybody creates their own account. You can log in, go to the practice area, and here we go. We're going to start a new return. Oops. All right. Now, the idea is that, oh, not like that. The idea is that, here we go. When you're doing this in TaxSlayer, basically it's going to show you where to click. I told you that the beginning is a little bit different. So we're going to click through the parts that are different, and here we are, right? So we enter the name, Lisa. Her date of birth is April 15th, 2004. Her occupation, right? We're going to put her student here because we're going to put her visa type, student. Double check that everything is right. Obviously, it's a little bit out of order. Put X's for anything that applies, right? She's over 18, she's a full-time student, but she is not a dependent on anybody's return. Not blind, not deceased, no contributions, no digital assets. That's where we do that. Then we enter her address here. Her address for everybody is on her W-2. Is an easy way to get an address if you need one. So, which is 200 University Avenue, apartment number 1, 55455. Yep. All right, then we have to enter a phone number. We will enter a fake phone number and continue. All right. So there's that. Dependents, we're going to say no, continue. All right. This is differences in the software again. All right. Basic, 1040 NR, schedule OI. And we're back into the places where it's the same. Right? We're going to say that she's an individual, right? She's a citizen of China. Country of residence is China. She is other not listed, non-immigrant visa. She has an F1 visa. Never applied for a green card, never changed her visa type, anything like that. Her days, which I can't remember, something like that. She did file a tax return last year, 2023, 1040 NR. She's not filing a return for a trust or anything like that. Right, here's her count of days right there. I did say, yes, I did say 3. There we go. Right, she doesn't want her check mailed to an address outside of the United States. So we're going to do that. We're going to leave this blank, do not put a number in there, and then say continue. Now we're going to go here. We're going to enter her dates. Right, so her first date that she was here, obviously this is old, but it's going to be 1/1/2024, right? Because she was here at the beginning of the year. So we should leave it blank, but it's not going to be happy with that. So we're going to put 12/31/2024. Continue. And once again, that's not right, but fine. And then continue. And continue. We're back to the main page. Now we're going to go to federal miscellaneous forms. Federal miscellaneous forms. Aliens exempt. Where are you? There we go. They've changed the way they say it there. Fabulous. All right, so now we fill this out. So we're filling out her form 8843. Non-immigrant date she entered on the US, right? That was 8/31, 2023. She hasn't changed her visa. Her current visa is an F1, that's line 1B. China is where she got her passport. 366, 274, 153, 360. Oh, whoa, come back. Oh, yeah. 366, right? That's the whole point of the form, days that you're not going to count. Then we're going to do part 3 for her, right? If she was a student or teacher, we do part 2. Otherwise, it's going to be part 3 for school. University of Minnesota, 612, 626, 100. So in our scenarios, just for everybody's information, we do generally put the real information. So this address is a good address for the University of Minnesota. Megan is the person that does this at the University of Minnesota. So that is the general University of Minnesota International Student Services phone number. So, and we'll have it for all of the schools. All right. Were you present for more than 5 years? Nope. Did she take steps to apply for permanent residency status? Nope. All right. What visas did she hold? Right. This is where you put the little F in all those different years. We're going to put an F for her in 2022. Oop, no, we didn't change. And then 2023. There we go. All right. We have done kind of jumped ahead. Jump through all of that stuff because I know how to do it. But that's basically what you do. So we're back here. We would continue. All right, we're at the main page. We're going to do her wage income now, right? So we go to federal section and the income. We're going to enter her W-2. And basically when we enter it, we're going to enter it just like it shows up. And if her address is different on her form, that's totally fine. We'll just enter whatever is on the form. That is the real number for the University of Minnesota. All right. She has 8,400 of wages, 840 in tax withheld. It pre-populates for us the Social Security and Medicare tax. So we need to delete those. I just always click delete on those. I don't try to put a 0 or anything in there or a space, just click delete. All of her other boxes on her W-2 are blank except for this state where she has tax withheld, the state ID number, and then the state tax withheld. There we go. If she had more, then we would add more. You could add another one right there. Otherwise, we're going to continue. We're going to continue. Now we go to federal section, payments and estimates. That's where that 1042S document hides. Foreign person's US income subject to withholding. And we're going to look at the 1042S forms that we give in our scenarios to do that. All right, so chapter 3, which is the one at the very top, the little boxes up here, chapter 3, unique form identifier. Exemption code is 04 because it's exempt under a treaty. It's not amended or anything like that. The income code is 20, box 1, compensation during studying and training. And your income is 5,000. All right, you'll notice that they very helpfully put the little red stars by all of the required information. You will notice as we scroll down here, right? So in this scenario or in the guides, I highlight what things are required. There's a lot that is not required and it's not transmitted to the IRS. So you can just skip over that. But the recipient information, like who got the money, is required. And it is generally going to be 16, an individual, right? Lisa got the money. She is an individual. And there we go. All of that stuff was blank. We can continue. We can continue. There. All right. And so now we have in our guide, we have our treaty benefits summary, which says that we have the W-2, the 1042S. She has the $5,000 of treaty exempt income. So now we have to go report that. All right, so we go back to the beginning. We go back to basic information, 1040 NR, general information. That is not right. You should be going here. We're going to select China. We're going to select our treaty article, which if we look back up here, we will see that it is Treaty Article 20C. Number of months claimed in previous years, 12, right? She filed last year, $5,000. This is what fills out that table L for her. Continue. All right. Back to the main page. All right. She made a state tax an income tax payment, right? So we need to enter that because that is her adjustment. That is a way for her to not pay as much tax. So we go to deductions, federal deductions, itemized deductions, taxes you paid, additional state and local tax. We already have the 449 from her W-2, but in her scenario, we know that she paid an extra $107 for her federal tax. So we're going to enter that here. And then we continue. And continue. And continue. All right, we're back to the main thing. All right, we said that she lives in Washington. She doesn't have to do any taxes for Washington. Great for her. He's ready to file her return. We have just done Lisa's return. Now, because we're in TaxSlayer Pro in the practice lab, we can't actually file anything. But what I would do is I would skip over. We're going to skip the state because we haven't trained on states. View printer return. Print tax return, and it's going to download a copy. And here we are. Right, it's got a bunch of pages at the beginning, like here's the W-2s that you entered. Here's like a summary to e-file. And then here's her 1040 NR form, right? Her address, she's single. No on the digital assets, wages, treaty exempt income, right? 556 because of her tax paid and her W-2 tax calculated, tax withheld. She gets the refund this year for federal return, so she's happy there. Schedule A, Schedule OI, Form 8843. It's all done. And here's the 1042S stuff that you entered. All right. So that's how that works. All right. So, and that's basically the same process that all of our clients are going to use, right? Obviously, the software is going to match much more closely in terms of when they're clicking back and forth because the guides are designed on that FSA version. You're going to be using the TaxSlayer Pro, like the accounting version of it. So it's not quite as friendly to use, but it still works. All right. Okay. So with that, before we take a stop, does anybody have any questions on that? All right. Okay, well then we're gonna pause and take a break for about 5 minutes. So we will come back at 6:36. And go through a little bit more material to cover, and then we're gonna turn you guys all loose on doing some returns as well. Are you saying that you can't hear me? Yes, thank you, Joe. All right, let's try it again. So getting back to how our clients are going to use TaxSlayer, right? So because this is the DIY plus help model, right? They're going to have access to the software. They're going to create their own account. We can never see their personal information in the software, right? It's their login, their account, it's their stuff, right? We are always like standing over their shoulder, looking at their screen, helping them with their return, but they're the ones that are doing it. We provide guides, videos, tools, all that kind of good stuff. But remember, right, scope is super important because, right, that software is a limiting factor, but we have different limits than what the software can be, right? If it's in scope, we can help. If it's out of scope, the clients can do it, but they got to do that part on their own. Oop, I need to update the income here. Sometimes like the software will put a hard stop, like for that $84,000 of income. Sometimes we need to be the ones that are making that judgment, right? We need to know, hey, you're asking about stock transactions. I'm only certified on non-resident. You know, you need somebody that's certified on resident as well to help you with that. Or you're doing digital, crypto, you're like, okay, sorry, we can't help you on that. We can pass them some reference information so that they can look it up, but we can't tell them what to do. As a reminder, here's our scope list, right? Main things are out of scope, right? Income over 84,000, treaty benefits for something other than wages, scholarships, or capital gains. Some state income tax returns we're going to cover. We've got that list there and we're adding more. So there's going to be a bunch, but we can't help with everything. We can't do self-employment income earned outside the United States. We don't do amended returns. We don't do prior year returns. We don't do cryptocurrency or digital assets or NFTs or any of that kind of fun stuff. But we do a lot, right? There's a big list of the stuff that we do. So we're going to be able to help 95% of the people without any trouble, right? It's just those few special ones that need a little bit more than we can do. So as we think about the support that we provide, right? So if we're doing a remote event, it's always going to be done using Zoom, right? We either have a clinic, where we have a certain number of clients to make sure that everybody has a chance to talk to volunteers, or office hours, or just a 20-minute one-on-one with a client. Clients can get one tax clinic appointment, right? That's 90 minutes. That should be more than enough time for them to prepare their return, especially if they've done a little bit of work in advance. They can always have office hour appointments. They can have one a day. We've got, I don't even know how many we've got, 30 or something like that, of different office hour sessions. So there are lots of different opportunities for help there. When we're in the Zoom, they can ask questions in the chat to the moderators. We ask for no talking in like the main Zoom room, right? Because it's their personal information. We don't want everybody to know all of their details. We can post answers to common questions if we have any. Usually they end up being pretty individual, so that's not necessarily very appropriate. The way it works is you as volunteers are in your own breakout room. The site coordinator will put a client in with you. Boom, there you go. Talk to them for 20 minutes if it's an office hour appointment, 15 minutes if it's a tax clinic. Then the site coordinator will say, okay, that person's done. Out they go. In comes the new client. Talk to them for another 15, 20 minutes. They can show you their screen. They can show you what's on their camera. You know, they can do whatever. If you need help, you can request help from the site coordinator. They can come down into your breakout room, see the same stuff, talk to the client, help you out that way. For an in-person clinic, it's very similar, except that it is just in person, right? So our volunteers are all up here. Everybody's working on their computer. Somebody has a question. They raise their hands. I run over to Mary. Mary, what's your question? Right? I'm not going to yell out to the world, oh my God, Mary, how much did you pay in tax? That's crazy. Right? I'm going to try to keep your information confidential, a little bit easier when everybody's on their own private breakout room. We're going to do our best in a big room. I believe that we are mostly going to be in the great big auditorium L110 down there in the main Carlson room. So there's going to be a lot of room. We're not going to fill that auditorium. I would not expect that we're going to fill that auditorium, but there will be plenty of room for people to spread out a little bit so they can kind of have some room for their stuff. all of our clients, if they need to, right? If they can't make it, just like we say, if you're sick, please don't come. Our clients are the same, right? If you're sick, please don't come. They can cancel up to 4 hours in advance and then they're totally good. But if they just don't show because they forgot or whatever, they don't get another appointment. They can come to a walk-in, they can come to an office hours. If they don't show for 2 or more events, they are banned from all appointments. So you as volunteers, you are the most valuable resource that we have. Your time is gold. And so our clients, they will get your time, but if they continue to disrespect it and not show for appointments, then they don't get to book any more appointments. They can walk in. All right. To talk about resident aliens, right? Because a bunch of you also studied resident tax, right? We're going to help both of them. When they make their appointment, they are going to tell us what kind of tax do you need help with? Are you a non-resident? Are you a resident, or do you not know? When we get ready for the tax clinics, we give all of our volunteers tax shirts so that you can wear them at the clinics. It makes it very easy for us to tell who is a volunteer and who is not. We also do color coding. I know it's a little bit lame, but it makes it really easy to say, you need to go find somebody that's in a blue shirt to answer your question. I cannot help you. Or go find the person in the red shirt, the site coordinator, because they are the ones that will deal with any clients that are unhappy or anything like that. So everybody gets shirts. Color is going to be based on your tax certification. So if you really hate yellow and love blue, go get your resident certification really fast and you can get that shirt. All right. We also monitor it so we can extract all of the data from our scheduling system. And then we look, what are our volunteer certifications? What are the clients telling us about their appointments? And I can look at it and say, like on the left here, I have yellow volunteers and then just a little bit of green volunteers, right? That says I've got a lot of people that can do non-residents, only a few that can do residents, but I've got only a few non-resident clients in the middle and a bunch of resident clients, right? So we've got a mismatch here for this clinic, right? We're going to be in trouble because if it's an in-person clinic, that means that those resident clients are going to be waiting. We don't really have the right number of volunteer resources. So I will probably reach out and say, hey, you know, we're a little short on people. Would you like to try to move to a different clinic where we've got more resources? Like on the right, where I see that my green and my blue bars, they're about the same size. The blue is smaller. That means I've got lots of resident support for the number of resident clients that we're going to have. All right, so that's how we track things to make sure everything is good. Sometimes we will say this particular clinic is going to be non-resident only. If we basically have all non-resident volunteers or maybe just one volunteer that is a non-resident and resident. All right, so as a reminder, right, you're not going to be using the software start to finish, right? You're going to do a lot of that in practice, but in the clinics, the clients are going to be doing that. They have the guides, they have the videos to help them through the process. You're the troubleshooting, right? You're the Chef Ramsay coming in to rescue them when everything is terrible. You're going to also do a lot of reviewing of returns to make sure that everything is correct, right? And when you review those returns, you are not going to review them in the software, right? Because if you think about it, to like click all of the places that they might possibly have clicked is a very long task. You're going to look at those finished documents. You're going to look at their input documents. You'll ask them questions about like, where are you from? When did you come? And you're going to make sure everything is correct that way. We are going to practice this quite a lot as well. All right. You're only going to be checking things in TaxSlayer. You're not going to be checking. You're going to be fixing things in TaxSlayer. We're going to do lots of practice in TaxSlayer and Practice Lab just to make sure everything is good. Mostly because that is the safe version, right? We're not going to let you use a version that could actually file a tax return. All right. If somebody is using a tax return and they're doing the personalized guide, right, the main steps of the process. First, learn. We've got a bunch of resources for them to learn, but then next, get organized, get your income documents, create your personalized guide, follow that guide to prepare your return, and then file your tax return. Come see us if you have questions. All right. So that is almost all of the stuff that we're going to show today. I'm going to just go over a couple more things, but for the most part, the rest of today, what we're going to do is let you practice, right? You saw me whip through Lisa's return in like 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? Now it is going to be your turn to try to do that. There are printouts of Lisa's information here. If we don't have enough, then there are more, the copies are out there on the Moodle as well, right? Use that link, create a personalized guide, and help walk you through that, right? Software is not quite the same. You saw that sometimes you have to skip over a little bit to kind of connect again with that same information. As you do this, right, there is a very specific order for how we do things in creating the return in TaxSlayer and in the guide, right? We start with the personal information. We do income, then adjustments and deductions. We do the states, and then we do the filing, right? Use this process. Don't try to bounce around, right? It's going to pop you out on the W-2 page. Don't go to the W-2 page first. Go get that personal information entered, right? It's very easy to get lost and forget what you've done or what you haven't done, right? The guides are your friend, right? Even a chef is going to use a recipe, right? But they're going to be able to look at it and know, did it come out right? Let me know how it goes as well, right? So everybody here today, you are in the exact same position all of our clients will be. You have some income documents. You're going to create your guide. You're going to use this software for the first time, right? So you're going to know at the end of today, right, what it feels like to be one of our clients. You have a lot more tax training than they do, but through this process, you're going to feel like you're going to see what it's like. So if you have questions, if you have feedback, let me know, right? The guides out there, they all have the solution, right? They have what her return should look like when you're done. So when you get done, double check it, make sure that it's right. You don't have to submit it to me, right? Just double check to make sure it's good. If you get stuck, raise your hand, ask me, ask a question on Zoom. I'll be happy to help, right? That is just what you as volunteers are going to be doing here in another 4 weeks. I am going to stop the recording once we get going there because that's kind of very boring to watch. When you get done, get going with Sunil's return. And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to the 3 or 4 volunteers that were very observant and caught my mistake on Sunil's treaty table last fall. So I had updated his W-2 to give him a little bit more income, but I did not update that treaty table. And some among you, I'm not going to call names, but some of you caught that. So very, very well done for everyone that did. For everyone that didn't, right? I didn't catch it either. We all make mistakes. That's why we do our very best, try to put as many backstops as we can in place. As you create these returns in TaxSlayer, make sure you create them as a different person, right? Don't just like copy over the information because we're going to do their state returns next week. And it's going to be a lot easier if you already have them there waiting for you and you just have to add the state stuff. If you were in FSA, that's only one return possible. You'd have to like delete one and start another one. So for next week, so we're going to do the rest of today, we're going to do practicing in TaxSlayer, Pro Practice Lab, Lisa and Sunil. Next week, sign up for your tax clinics. I will pester you again because I have to release all of those to the world on hopefully on Monday. So that's why I need you to sign up before then. Do Lisa and Sunil on your own, right? You don't have to send them to me, but just practice it because you know what those returns should look like. And we've got some Moodle assignments for you. Harold's return. You have already done Harold. You know what his return looks like. Now you need to make it look like that in TaxSlayer. The next one is going to be Kim's return. Kim is a new person for you. So this will be the first time you see her. You need to prepare her tax return. There is a quiz on where and how to enter information in TaxSlayer. And then there is a first quiz for reviewing a return. That last one isn't quite ready yet. That'll get released tomorrow. The other 3 are out there and ready to go whenever you are. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. So getting into TaxSlayer, The link is out there on the main website. The instructions are there. Train Pro Web, all in caps, is that first password. Create an account, say VITA, go to the practice lab, start a return, put in a fake social security number. I'm not going to worry about that for a return. It might give you a warning. Off you go. You're good to go. All right. Any final questions before we get going? All right. In that case, thank you all again for your time today and for all of your hard work so far. And I will look at the chat to see if there's another question here. Not approved. All right, Marissa, I will get back to you on that in just a minute here, okay? All right. And we will go there. We're going to stop the sharing. We're going to stop the recording.